How you
morning.
doing?
Yeah, I'm well. I'm well. And it's so funny because coming into the studio today, I'm like, oh, I've seen you perform live. I actually got to
Yeah.
see you perform some of your music. Tell us a bit about your history. What got you into music? Just tell us kind of the beginning.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've always really loved reading poetry. I studied world arts and culture at UCLA, and I spent a lot of time in LA just kind of developing my craft as an artist and specifically what I want to focus on, how I want to tell stories, how I want to represent myself. Um, and I did a lot of traveling. I studied culture, studied some languages. But yeah, I came up to Seattle about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So it's been great. I work a lot with For Culture, Smart Venture. I have a show with Artists at the Center tomorrow at 6 p.m. Uh, at the Theater Commons area in Seattle Center. So that's really exciting.
Well, we've talked to musicians before, and the thing is that you being here for 4 years, I'm sure you may have been able to kind of plug into this artist community, right, of
Yeah.
musicians, and it's so tight knit here, but it
Mhm.
also is very welcoming. Tell us about your experience coming from LA to Seattle, and maybe some of the differences that you've experienced in each kind of community.
I've found people in Seattle are really real and they're really it takes time to, there's like people say that there's the Seattle freeze because in LA everybody's warm and hot, but you don't know if they're really giving you the realness or not. Or I found in Seattle, people are real with you, they either want to be a part of your music or they don't. Like there's really no sugarcoating, which I appreciate. Like I want to know, like, do you want to create something right now, and how is that going to manifest? And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's like with any other relationship. But I've been in North Seattle for a few years, but I spent some time in South Seattle. There's like Roomba Notes and Esquire Lounge. And I really found in Seattle specifically, more so than Los Angeles, like there is such a deep appreciation for African American culture and our music, and that's something that I found has been really enriching. And not only that, the government support, like on a local level, like in LA, everybody's an artist, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like in Seattle, you've got like KXP radio station. That's why I stayed. They had Mastering the Hustle. They had these workshops. I was going in studio. I saw like St. Vincent and Duran Jones and the Indication. I'm just sitting there watching as like an emerging, artist just watching like in the glass like that. So those type of opportunities that you don't get to just walk into a radio station in LA.
Yeah.
Like I walked into the radio station and we were, right there with some of these legendary musicians playing. So opportunities like that are really unique. And just the fact that I can apply to local government and say, hey, I want to write this book, or hey, I want to put on this performance, and they'll put money. It took about 3 years, but then they were like, okay, she's showing up and she's doing something. So it took about 3 years, but now it's kind of like they see me, and so that's what I appreciate about Seattle. It's like once you prove, to art and culture here that you have something to say, they will give you
That's
a microphone.
Well, it's true, and I love hearing the juxtaposition between Seattle and LA. And
Yeah.
as somebody who's born and raised here, I
Yeah.
never understood the Seattle freeze, and I always really attributed to a bunch of transplants. To be honest, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's because people are trying to figure it out when they
Yeah,
get here. But for those of us that are born and raised here, I never actually felt that
Yeah.
from my community. But I've heard some of my elders say, "Oh no, it's always been a real thing." So it's a
Yeah.
wide discussion about that. Well, you were talking about being a world traveler and your
Yeah.
studies in college. What was it about music? Because you're talking about poetry, which we know transcends really well
True.
into songwriting. But what was it for you where you were like, you know what? No, music is really it for me. That's going to be that kind of anchoring force.
I think so. I started with spoken word, and that's obviously very important in our community, right? And I found just music has that additional element of constructed sound waves, right? There's the voice, but the sound waves that the guitar instrument carries, and the band that uplifts and carries the voice as a vehicle, that's has such a stronger power of community and message. And not only that, I really love studying like the medicinal elements of how sound, with it, if it's sent in a directed, intentional way, um, it makes for a like uplifting, inspirational, sometimes rejuvenating experience. And that's something, that's how I look at it. And studying in different spaces, whether it's like South America, or Asia or Europe, it's always, music is everywhere. Whether it's for a celebration, or people are sad, or they're trying to get through a war, they're trying to get through your own personal battles, or you want to heal someone, and that's what I view as the voice, is you can uplift someone, you can change someone's life. And I think also with the instrument itself, you can also do that. So I just wanted another voice, that's why.
Well, it's really great to kind of hear that, and to have you talk us through how you got there. One of the things that I really appreciate so much about artistry is that it's unique to every artist, right? There's always that kind of origin story that got you to where you are today, that got you to be like, you know what, like I do have something to contribute to this, world of music. And
Totally.
being around the world, you just experiencing it in different cultures and in different areas of the world. What do you feel that you are like, you know what, nah, I'm now here in Seattle, right? I mean, you're talking about the uniqueness of the Seattle culture and the community here, but it's important that people get to know you. How are you getting yourself out there? Obviously, your performance tomorrow is one way, but how have you been able to make those connections here so that people do know, hey, this girl is serious. She's out here.
It's been a journey for me, because I am an independent artist, and so that means I have to run my website, and I have to I have to find money to record the music and all these things. And I would say I have to get better with social media in terms of connections. I'm more of I show up at the space and I meet the people, and they're like, okay, cool, like this is, I believe in this. But for me, I just, my perspective as an artist is, and what I've studied is, I try to be myself. I try to express the uniqueness that I bring to the table. Some people like it, some people don't. And I show up, and I make the best art that I can, and I know for a fact, it's not going to resonate with everybody, but it's just about being your true distinctive self. Just like, you have you have beautiful glasses, and you are painting and how you represent yourself with your fashion, and that's distinctly you, and so I try to do the same thing with my music. Like, I just show up, and I'm here. I just woke up today and I was like, I'm gonna show up. I don't know what's gonna happen. So I think it's, for me, I'm just gonna keep showing up, and I'm gonna do the best I can. I'm not like the best at marketing or anything like that, but I'm just gonna keep showing up. Someone will find it. That's what I believe. Like, if you keep on making a great art, and you're true to, like, I'm Arami, that's all I can do. I'm not trying to be anybody else. Like, I'm being myself. I'm gonna keep showing up, and hopefully some people will like it.
Well, that's the greatest thing about it. I think authenticity really carries through for a lot of people, and it's a big draw, right? I'm not the greatest at marketing myself. People are always like, how do you not have 10,000 followers on Instagram and stuff? And I'm like, that takes like some intentionality for me to be involved in a digital world where I'm very much in the like real world of like people, like you say, showing up. So I definitely understand that. But not only are you a musician, you find time to be an educator and to be an author. Tell us a little bit about the education piece and how you're giving back to the community through education.
I mean, I teach some private music lessons when I have time. I haven't been teaching as much, but I am passionate about teaching. I'm actually doing a project with Seattle Restored in the Pioneer District. in regards to my book, for 2 months on Yesler, I'm going to have an exhibition of my poetry book and some illustrations. So that's through Seattle Restored and Shunpike, another amazing, organization that's uplifting arts and just allowing a woman of color to occupy space in Pioneer Square in a historic district, and say, what we validate your words, and these illustrations. So that's something that's coming up. And I actually, so this is what my book looks like, if anybody is interested. It's called Poems in Transit, and it has a lot to do. I mean, it's just really just talking about myself and my relationship with myself and my identity and my perspective on the world and culture. But yeah, so that's going to be up through Shunpike and Seattle Restored for 2 months in the summer, as like a large scale kind of like the book in large scale.
That's so dope. I mean, when we think about how art is so transformative, it really takes people to pour themselves into it in order for it to really like touch someone else. Tell us a bit about the difference between writing poetry and songwriting. How do you distinguish between the two? Because it's almost as if they really can blend together.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, it all kind of flows, right? Like, you're writing, you'll be like, oh, that's a good story for a song, or that's a good concept for a song. I feel like with poetry, you don't have to be thinking about rhythm or melody or like repetition. Songs got a lot of repetition, right? Like that's what people want, the hook, like the tagline. And when you're writing a poem, you can really elaborate on the story. You can really get into detail. With the song, I think with popular music, people kind of just want, they want that tagline that they can vibe to. And like with poetry, you can really be like, and the mahogany would cast a beautiful whatever it is. You can get really deep into it. But yeah, no, I've been looking at the medicinal property of music making, and whether it's healing myself and poetry as well. Just I think a lot of, especially Black people, have always used that as a means of adjusting to society and pushing through society and carving space and empowering our word. And I look at all these people behind me, and I think, because of their agency and their fearlessness to make music, I get to be here today. I got to drive here in my, in my own car, and have my own space in Seattle and just make music and talk about it, because of them,
Yeah, the legacy is real. And, that's something that I literally get to experience daily, being in the presence of this wall, but also being connected to community. So, Arami, I'm so glad that you came to Seattle, that you found, like a home here for yourself, your artistry, your music. I know you have the performance coming up tomorrow. You can look right there, make sure people know how to follow up with you and how to be there to support your music tomorrow.
Yeah, so come by tomorrow, 6 p.m., Seattle Center. If you go by the water fountain, the Theater Commons is like right up, I guess, kind of to the left, kind of near KXP. You'll hear me playing. Tyler, the Creator's playing in the Climate Pledge Arena, so that will be dope. Just come and support, and follow me at my name, Arami Walker. On Instagram, YouTube. I have a website, AramiWalkerMusic.com, Spotify, Apple, all that. I really appreciate this studio, Converge, like everything about this space is really important to me. And I'm in such a exuberant celebration that you guys exist here,
We're glad we exist,
and
too.
I hope that it continues. You guys stay here for a long time.
Yeah, there we go. And just so people may want to know, how do they get the book?
So if you go on my website, Poems in Transit, but on my website, all of my books are there. I have a children's book, music, and a wellness self-care book for women. to journal. So yeah, I'm just out here creating.
There we go.
Boom, boom, boom.
Putting it out there. Well, Arami Walker, thank you so much for joining me, and good
you.
luck on your performance tomorrow at the Seattle Center. Glad that you're here. And I'm telling y'all, I've actually had the pleasure of listening to her live, and it was so soothing, and we didn't want you to stop. So I know how dope you are.
Thank you.
Thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.